Unraveling. It's unraveling. Listen in case you didn't
We would like to welcome you back to the Truth Be Told Flex podcast, and I'm your coach, Yeshuv Judah, sitting alongside with Oxafayasha Yegu. And if you have not done it yet, please take time to subscribe to the content and also share it. With that being said, let's brace ourselves for a great show. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
About to come and mop the floor up. Walking up in Louis V with your mask on. Check the me's, man, they about to get their blast on. Prophecy, interpretation, Isaiah 55:11, so it ain't no faking. Crack your dough, it's getting close. I'm here to tell you, just in case you didn't know. Listen, man, in case you didn't know, no, it's almost getting close. In case you didn't know, no, it's on unraveling. Babylon got pregnant with a daughter.
There we go. Now, shalom, shalom. All right. I am your host, Yeshuv Judah, and Oxafy is not with us tonight. There have been some questions asking about Oxafy. Is he okay? Let me be the first to tell you, Oxafy is doing fine. He is dealing with some family matters. He wanted to let you guys know that he missed you as well. So as soon as he can get back in the seat next to me, he will be there. But we have our ever-loving best feeling of all time that comes with the heat and knowledge. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because you my baby. But hey, we got my beautiful wife sitting next to me. How you doing, baby?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, thank you for taking time out and sitting with me. People have no idea how busy you are. This is a busy lady for real. And just for her to sacrifice the time to sit down with me and to chop it up with me on the show, I want to tell you thank you. Right?
You're welcome.
Yeah, I really do. I want to tell you thank you for that.
I'll send you my bill later.
Already. Already. Let's get right to the news, though, right? Before we do that, it is October the 14th, the year of 2021, on the day that the Greeks call Thursday. And again, we would like to welcome you to the Truth Be Told Flex podcast. Let's get right to the news, huh? It's been a lot of stuff in the news, right? One in particular is Mr. Kyrie Irving.
Yes.
Man, there's been a lot of superstars who have pulled the rugs from up under our feet. They would say one thing, and when it comes down to it, they would do a complete opposite. As far as right now, I want to say that this young man, Kyrie Irving, has been probably one of the best examples of someone who is not afraid to make a choice on his own. You know how I always say that most of the entertainers are sold out, which don't give them the privilege of being themselves, saying what they believe,
Speaking out.
Exactly. This young man right here, though, Mr. Kyrie Irving, if he has sold out, he don't care. But by all pretense and purposes, I don't think that he have. I think that this guy really came in just to play ball, and he got principles.
Yeah, I like that choice of word, principles. I was always told growing up, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Regardless of what you believe about what's going on with Kyrie Irving, regardless of your thoughts on it, your viewpoints on it, there are people who are going to say Kyrie's stupid, he's an idiot. I have some information I'd like to get into as it relates to Kyrie Irving. But at the end of the day, he's a grown man and it's his decision. I hate for people to minimize the decision he's made by some of the statements they make, such as he's not a victim. He's not a hero. He hasn't done anything special. To Kyrie and his family, he has done something special. He stood up for what he believed in. Now, whether he's able to stick to that or not, it remains to be seen. However, his purpose right now, his point right now, he's not trying to make a mockery of anything. He's not trying to make a show. I think the media, most media platforms,
more out of it,
have taken it to somewhere else. Why is he in the news? Why do we care that Kyrie Irving has made a decision not to play ball? Only not to play ball because he refuses to get the vaccine. He said it's just not. It's
he
not
haven't made a decision not to play ball.
Well,
Brooklyn Nets and the NBA has made that decision that, and I put it that way because he wants to play ball.
What? So you didn't let me finish, sir.
Oh, okay.
What I was trying to say is what they're minimizing it is saying he's made the decision not to play ball because he refuses to get vaccinated.
Okay. I apologize.
He didn't decide he didn't want to play ball. He decided he didn't want to get the vaccine. And for those people who try and belittle the situation and say, well, we were forced to wear seatbelts. Not everybody wore a seatbelt at one point, but people started dying from not wearing seatbelts, getting into car accidents. Okay, that's understandable. Mm-hmm. Seatbelts don't require me to inject anything in my body.
Exactly. Kyrie made some points. Well, this is one thing I want to see what you got to say about this. Ignorant people would make this about basketball. Mm-hmm. And when I'm saying ignorant people, I'm talking about Kyrie's peers, ESPN analysts, the general manager of Brooklyn Nets, and they would feed that to other ignorant people because they would listen to them and they also would believe it to be basketball. Example, how could Kyrie be so selfish? Mm-hmm. That's what they'll ask. And jeopardize the team's chances of winning a championship. Mm-hmm. They would make this about basketball. And now you got fans sitting back that's buying into this. Before we went into this show, I got on YouTube to go back to see if Kyrie had any peers within the NBA, present or past, that would stand up with him, right? Couldn't find none. Me either. Couldn't find any.
I searched.
Stephen A. Smith, of course, we already knew where he was gonna stand, but you gotta hear it, right? Even Shaq, it's not there. You know what I'm saying? Right now, this young man is on an island on his own. So you saying that he's selfish because he don't want to inject something that is foreign in his body. But what about the NBA? Well, let's take it down a notch. What about the Brooklyn Nets? How selfish are they for not sticking up for their guy?
Right. Well, what did you say at the top of the show as it relates to Kyrie Irving? They haven't sold out. He hasn't sold out. Some of these individuals likely have. I think the other thing to look at too is if you choose to get vaccinated, get the cocktail, that's your choice. Mm-hmm. That's your decision. The same way I respect you making the decision that that's what you want to do with yourself. You should respect Kyrie Irving and the decision that he's making, that's not what he wants to do. It's not selfish of him to make that choice. I find it also interesting that the negativity that is put on people not wanting to get the cocktail as though we no longer have a choice. Like, we don't get to decide for ourselves anymore.
Exactly.
We're too stupid to make that decision.
Exactly. We're not smart enough, right? And especially, and this is one of the things that I'm so proud of right now, okay? I'm proud that the first person of the entertainment status, right, that has the nerves to stand up and look at the beast in the eye and say, I'm bucking you, was a brother.
Right.
But not only a brother, because you got to think about the entertainment industry overall. Across the board, right? Now, you know Nicki Minaj, but they keeping her, out the news a little bit, right? But she's kind of bucking the system too, right?
And all she said was, make smart decisions.
Make smart decisions.
Hey, this is a situation
that's
that I'm
too much
aware
when
of.
you as famous as she is.
This is a situation I'm aware of. This is something I know. Hey, if you're making a decision to get it, choose wisely. What's wrong with choosing? What is wrong with choosing?
That brings me to this point. We're too dumb to choose. You dig what I'm saying? Not only is it a brother buck in the system, it's a brother buck in the system that plays basketball. And how do mainstream America look at athletes? Just shut up and
play ball.
Remember when they told LeBron that?
Absolutely.
Because he had some political stance. You know what I'm saying?
And now they're mad because he won't take a stance.
Exactly,
he
right?
He won't take a stance on it and push the agenda for them. So they're mad at him about that. So you either want him to shut up and play basketball, or you want him to speak his viewpoints.
I got a couple of clips here from I got one from Kyrie, and then I got one from Jeff Van Gundy, right? Let's listen to Kyrie. And the reason why I want to listen to Kyrie is because Sam Perkins made a comment that he listened to his live, he done read the Twitters, but Kyrie is not making himself plain. What are you really trying to say? Let's see if what Kyrie is saying is plain enough.
Running away from using my voice and using my platform to, speak on what's true and what's mine. Nobody's going to hijack my voice. Nobody's going to take the power away from me that I have for speaking on these things, and don't believe that I'm retiring. Don't believe that, I'm going to give up this game for a vaccine mandate or staying unvaccinated. Don't believe any of that, man. Like really be aware of what's being said before I even get a chance to be on the podium and speak for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like all these people saying all these things about what's going on with me, and it's just not true. Pay attention to what's going on out in the real world. People are losing their jobs to these mandates. People are having to make choices with their own lives, which I respect. And I don't want to sit here and play on people's emotions either. Just use logic. What would you do? If you felt uncomfortable going into the season when you were promised that you would have exemptions or that you didn't have to be forced to get the vaccine. This wasn't an issue before the season started. This wasn't something that I foresaw coming where I prepared for it. And, I had a chance to strategize on what was going to be best for me and my family. I came into the season thinking that I was just going to be able to play ball, be able to use my talent to continue to, inspire, influence people in the right way. Like putting this on me is just like, why are you putting it on me? This is not part of, what's going on in conversations with scientists, physicians, and doctors. I'm just a hooper, right? Like I'm just a person who's being utilized as an example. For some odd reason, people love to have my name in the mix of just some BS. Like just hearing the way people speak with so much conviction about what I should be doing with my life and what, my teammates should be feeling about me, what the organization be feeling about me.
So what's your thoughts on that? What was he clear in what it is that he feel?
I had to stop running away from.
He was very clear in what he said. What he didn't do was back down from his position.
That's something they're not used to.
What's not clear to them is the fact that he's not buying into what they're trying to sell by exactly what he said, using him.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the story about Kyrie Irving? What about the nurses who were on the front line all of last year, good portion of this year, with no vaccine, nothing in sight for them?
Right.
We saying they heroes, and then some of these same nurses are saying, for me personally, I don't want to get it, and we're gonna force them to get it. Now we're gonna kick them out of their jobs. They were so essential last year.
Right.
They're no longer essential now because you won't take what we telling you absolutely have to take. Just because I'm a nurse or a doctor doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with this particular thing. This is what They told me I have to do. This is what the patient wants, whatever the case is. How many times have you heard cancer patients say, "I don't want that treatment"?
Come on now.
I'm not interested. I don't want the
Never
chemo.
heard of
I don't
it.
want to go through that.
Never
And
heard of a doctor force chemo on a cancer
some doctors
patient.
will get upset and try and convince them, but what do? It's your choice.
Exactly.
It's your decision.
Exactly.
Because what's happening to them? They're getting things put into their body that they don't necessarily agree with. They're not comfortable with. They'd rather deal with these consequences over here, and you can say all day long it's because it's not contagious. It doesn't matter. There are other contagious things out there. Flu been around forever.
The moment a person, and there are so many of them have done it, the moment a person takes this cocktail against their will to keep their job or to keep their livelihood or to be able to play sports, you lose your individuality at that particular time. Now, there is stuff out there, people that's saying that the cocktail changes your DNA. You know what I'm saying? It changes who you are at that moment. You will know. Have you ever done something that you didn't want to do in that feeling after you had done it? You know what I'm saying? You feel violated. So now this is something that you got to walk around with the rest of your life. This is why I did this. You see what I'm saying? This is why I did. And this is what Kyrie said. He said, I'm staying grounded in what I believe.
Right.
It is as simple as that. It is not about being an anti-vax, because this is what they be quick to say, right? He's an anti-vaxxer. It's not being about an anti-vax, about being on one side or the other. It is just really about being true to what feels good for me. That right there should be enough.
Yep.
He is a grown man, right? But he continued, he said, if I'm going to be demonized for having more questions and taking my time to make a decision with my life, that is just what it is. I know the consequences of the decisions that I make with my life. I'm not here to sugarcoat any of that. Nobody is hijacking this voice. See if they play this on their TV channels, and if they play this actual truth somewhere before you start talking about me and what I'm doing with my life. He said, I got one life and one body.
That's it. Why should I not be able to choose?
Don't nobody, they keep saying that we don't know what the long-term side effects of COVID is. I done heard them say this repeatedly. How do you know what the long-term side effects of this vaccine is?
Well, let's look at the short-term effects. You've heard them talk about blood clots. You've heard death. You've heard them say things about certain heart conditions that people are having. They're not discussing that. They don't want to hear about that. They like negativity. Let's talk about those.
Let's be negative.
But we're not going to discuss that. If the true motive was really about, was really about the positivity of taking the cocktail, why aren't they talking about the fact that 95% of the NBA players already got it?
Thank you. And so if 95% of the NBA players have the cocktail, that means that 95% of the NBA is protected. So why are they worried about Kyrie Irving? Which is why I had this on the screen at the beginning, because we all, if you old enough, we all remember this. They let Magic Johnson play with that got full-blown HIV. He was supposed to have HIV, full-blown HIV, but won't let Kyrie play because he won't get a COVID shot.
He won't get the jab.
I remember, what's his name? Charles Barkley.
Refused to
when we had freedom of speech. You remember that? I know it seemed like eons ago, right? Mm-hmm. But we used to have freedom of speech, right? Charles Barkley say, I refuse to play on the same court with Magic.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Refuse.
Why? Because at that time, you had no idea what that could morph into.
So, with that being said, and I want to play this one last clip. It's not that long. This is Jeff Van Gundy, because this goes back to what we was talking about with we as being
just let Jeff tell it. Let Jeff tell it.
Just in general, you know the one that drives me crazy is?
What's that?
I'm doing my own research. I would like someone to answer this question. What does that look like? You doing your own research? Are you doing studies yourself? Are you in the lab on a nightly basis? What are you doing? I don't understand what that means. I'm doing my own research. How about this? We got really smart people, a lot smarter than anybody in the NBA who's already done the research.
You're right. Hey, Kevin Durant said, call me naive, but I'd like to think that we're going to have everybody
right
by the time the season starts.
And I'll say they're good enough, even if Kyrie Irving doesn't play. They can win it.
Go ahead.
Let me tell Jeff what that research looks like. Before we get into the other piece that I know you really want to nail down, let me tell what that research looks like. He said he wanted somebody to explain that to him. When they started developing this cocktail and they started putting information out, the little bit of information that they were putting out, the ingredients might have been hard to find, but there were some things put out, the side effects, there were some things put out, the groups that it could affect this way, the side effects that may come up for these individual groups. That's what you research. You research the information that's out there. Nobody said Kyrie was in a lab looking at petri dishes through microscopes. What he said is he needs to make a decision that's best for him and his family. And he goes based off of the information he has available to him. And the information he has available to him tells him that that's not what he wants to do, as well as many other people, including folks in the medical field who do not feel comfortable taking the cocktail. That's what the research looks like.
Exactly.
It looks like me being able to do a study for something to make sure that whatever it is that I decide to put in my body is good for me.
Exactly. I want to end with this question here, because if 95% of the NBA, and they talking about the players, because I'm more than convinced they would tell you that 100% of the executives are vaccinated. That's what they would tell you anyway, right? So with the players, they're saying that 95% of the NBA is vaccinated. You are not going to, this being a predominantly black league as well, you are not going to make me believe that all 95% of them was comfortable with that decision.
Right.
This is what makes Kyrie so special.
Agreed. And I know you said you wanted to end on that, but I pulled something up just before we started the show that I wanted to share a little bit of that I was disappointed in. Jalen Rose has a show that he does. I don't know if you've ever seen the Jalen and Jacoby show. And he does this show, and the question came up because everybody is talking about Kyrie Irving. The question came up about Kyrie and his decision, and he started off beautifully. It's his choice. It's his decision. I support him 100%. I was like, wow, we finally found one. I was wrong. Not only did he go from it's his choice, it's his decision, and he understands because the disparities that black and brown people have had with law enforcement and medical history in the past, things that have happened to us in the past. He followed it up with he's not a hero. The rules are the rules. He said, I like to travel abroad. And if I travel abroad, I have to have a passport. If I choose not to get vaccinated, not to get the cocktail, then I can't travel abroad. It's my choice, right? Then he follows it up with, if the company requires you to have the cocktail and you decide not to get it and you lose your job, that's your choice. But I still support your decision to not do it. He's making light of the fact that people are still being forced to do something against their will.
Exactly.
Nobody's forcing you to travel abroad.
Exactly.
You said you like to travel abroad. I
Which
never
is a
said I like
choice.
to get a jab. Kyrie never said he'd like to get jabbed.
Exactly.
You comparing apples to oranges.
Exactly. And the question that I was going to make with all 95% of them did not feel comfortable with taking that jab. Kyrie, this is what made Kyrie so special is that he is one. And this is a league that is driven off of the players. You get paid from the players. People pack these arenas nightly to see the players. They don't pack those stadiums, those arenas to see the coaches, to see the referees. They come to see the players. What if those who really felt like Kyrie stood along with Kyrie? Then what is the question that I'm asking? You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
You leaving this man out here on an island by himself, allowing the giant to continue to ridicule him when you felt the same way that he felt. You did?
Right.
You are the cogs that make the machine go. Use your power and shut it down if need to.
Unfortunately, those numbers aren't great enough of those individuals who are uncomfortable getting it. Not everybody is in the same position financially as Kyrie.
And I do understand that. I do understand that. And that's why I say that Kyrie is a man of principles because, and I'm not by no means talking about people, bank accounts or anything like that. But sometimes there are things in life that's bigger than money. And this is the issue right now. That's something that's bigger than basketball. This is John Boy, back band.
When I say Hebrews, I mean myself. Praying, cause I can't redeem myself.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Look, you talk about the devil, but you just as crooked. You helped me look for what I lost when you knew you took it. Wow, you plotting on my soul, I can feel you looking. Listen, when you say you wish me well, I wish you would that day. I just grip the most I will, and I pray I never lack. Tell them God gon' teach you knowledge, watch they face when they react. While I keep it all together, I just pray and stay intact. Got my Bible on the dash and my band in the back. They say, John Boy, where you been? I've been straining out of that. Trying to picture perfect, got me throwing at the bat. Trying to hit a home run, now they all up on my jack. Talking fame or the fortune, once I pick, I can't go back. So I'm not falling flat, I gotta choose wise. My rebirth was a miracle once I knew God. Cause life is a female dog who got a tubes tied. All you see is the all-seeing eye, but not the boob job. There's always an eye for an eye. That's if I lose mine. Won't sign my life on the line, cause I'll die 2 times. So I stay in my lane and pray he cover me while listening to this band in this back that's playing lovely heat. Hey, you talk about the devil, but you just as crooked. You helped me look for what I lost when you knew you took it. Wow, you plotting on my soul, I can feel you looking. Listen, when you say you wish me well, I wish you would that day. I just grip the most I will, and I pray I never lack. Tell them God gon' teach you knowledge, watch they face when they react. While I keep it all together, I just pray and stay intact. Got my Bible on the dash and my band in the back. High fives, I'm just trying to high rise. And if it ain't drive-bys, then you getting dry highs. So I ain't looking for no love, but I used to. So I stay in my laboratory and just let the goose loose. So I can focus on the G-O-D dot. Burnt all my Capper Nike, now I'm wearing Reeboks. Burnt all my Reeboks, now I'm wearing treetops. Stay up in my zone all alone till my breathe stops. Hey, you talk about the devil, but you just as crooked. You helped me look for what I lost when you knew you took it. Wow, you plotting on my soul, I can feel you looking. Listen, when you say you wish me well, I wish you would. Hey, I just grip the most I will, and I pray I never lack. Tell them God gon' teach you knowledge, watch they face when they react. While I keep it all together, I just pray and stay intact. Got my Bible on the dash and my band in the back. Wow.
All right. Man, the John Boy and I Bar the Rock was the collab. That'd be something
Phenomenal.
special. Man, look, girl. All right, what we got next?
Old Dave Chappelle in the news again. Dave Chappelle stay in the news, but Dave Chappelle is in the news because this was one of his last shows he's doing for a while. He did a tour and did his last show, and one of the topics he hit is a hot topic. It's a touchy subject for a lot of people. It's a touchy subject for a specific group in particular. But what Dave Chappelle did in the show was comedic genius, in my opinion. It was like he was having a conversation with the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost as though he was sitting in a conference having a conversation with them, with this particular community. And they didn't hear a word he said.
Mm. People normally don't hear a word you say when you already on the defense.
Right.
Comedy has always been that one art where everybody was wide open.
And everything goes.
And everything goes.
Agreed.
You go back to the days of before I was born, right? But I remember hearing about the albums, the Red Fox albums. I remember growing up stealing and listening to the old Richard Pryor albums,
Yes,
right?
You old.
I remember stealing and listening to Dolomite. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything goes when it comes to This goes to show you where our civilization, if you can even call it that now, has come to.
Right.
Today. To where, what in the heck is council generation anyway? Where does it come? Council culture. Thank you. Council culture. Thank you. Who even invented it? Where did it come from? How is it even a thing in nowadays, right? Before you go back off, this is something that's facts right now, right? I read this somewhere. Black people would cancel Netflix before we cancel Dave Chappelle.
Facts. They tried it. Dave Chappelle is not the one. Mainly because Dave Chappelle has done things over the course of his career that have always been standalone, stand out, and people look at him like something is wrong with this dude. Because he talks about the subjects nobody else, wants to talk about.
Right. He's like a modern day Richard Pryor.
He talks about the subjects that other people shy away from. What I appreciated most about this particular show that Dave Chappelle put on is he told the community, I don't have a problem with you.
Mm-hmm.
My problem, if you've ever listened to anything I've ever said, if you listen to any of my shows, I don't have a problem with you. My problem's always been with white people.
Exactly. We got that clip. We gonna play that clip on this segment of Dave Chappelle. Right.
I mean, I can't say it the way Dave said it. It's very Dave-esque.
Right, exactly. And I also want to say, to the families that watch the show, I want to say, excuse the vulgar language. I was not able to edit it right, but we're going to listen to some Dave Chappelle. There was two things that he said. There was one thing that he said that was genius, and this is the first thing that he said that really got me, that made me raise my eye, because you and I talked about this a lot. Once again, the Negro is sitting at the back of the bus.
Nope.
Once again, the Negro is sitting at the back of the bus, right? Look, HBCUs are not going to get the money that Joe Biden said that he was going to give them, okay?
He lied. Imagine that,
right? When they looked at the budget and they needed money, guess where they got the money from? They got it from that budget that was supposed to be going to the HBCUs, right? Can't talk about Asians. Can't talk about Asians, right? There's a whole list of you can't talk about, but the one thing that's always been free game and everybody just looks over it and be like, y'all get over it, is when you talk about Negroes.
Absolutely.
As long as Dave Chappelle did a stand-up that was, well, it was on his skits, the Dave Chappelle show. That was phenomenal. I laughed hard. But as long as he was talking about niggas, ain't nobody said nothing. White power,
They were
right?
gonna give him all kinds of money.
All kinds of money, right? But as soon as he opened up his mouth, it said something about them transgender, LG, alphabet folks. Oh man, all hell broke loose.
It did.
All hell broke. Oh, we gotta cancel him. You dig what I'm saying?
All because they didn't listen to a word he said. They were already prepared for their argument.
This is the first clip from Dave Chappelle's show that we're gonna talk about. Where's it at, baby? There it is. Again, excuse the foul language.
You guys are confusing the emotions. You think I hate gay people, and what you're really seeing is that I am jealous of gay people. Oh, I'm jealous. I'm not the only black person that feels this way. We blacks, we look at the gay community and we go, God damn it, look how well that movement is going. Look how well you are doing. And we've been trapped in this predicament for hundreds of years. How the fuck are you making that kind of progress? I can't help but feel like if slaves had baby oil and booty shorts, we might have been free 100 years sooner, you know what I mean? If Martin Luther King was like, I want everybody to get up on them floats, get your bodies good and shiny.
We have marched, we have protested. What is it? We have marched, we have protested, we have joined hands, we have been beat with billy clubs, we have been water hosed down. You name it, it has been done to us, and we still in the same position that we always have. And then all of a sudden,
Sitting at the back of the bus.
all of a sudden, these dadgum homosexuals got all the rights in the world.
Hey, I'm with Dave. How you do it?
How you do it? Because that goes back to what he said, what you said, that if you ever listen to him, he ain't got a problem with them. He got a problem with white people. Because white people make the what? Rules.
Yep.
They make the rules on who you can and who you can't mess with. What you can and what you can't do. What you going to accept and what you not going to accept. What you going to put in your body, what you not going to put in your body. And white people make those decisions.
And if you're one of those self-serving pro-black people who say we're making strides, well, that gummit, I'm sick of making strides. I want to make some jumps.
You understand what I'm saying?
Leaps.
Everybody else been able to make leaps.
Still at the back of the bus.
And we still sitting where? At the back of the bus. Let's listen to this last clip by Dave Chappelle.
You who have ever watched me know that I have never had a problem with transgender people. If you listen to what I'm saying, clearly, my problem has always been with white people. I have been arguing with the whites my entire career. And just when I thought I had you guys on the ropes, you changed all the rules. Oh, yeah? Yeah, motherfucker. Well, I'm a girl now, nigger, and you must treat me as such. Call me a girl, nigger. It's annoying as fuck. No. Go back tonight after the show. Watch every special I did on Netflix. Listen to everything I ever said about that community. I'll go through them. I said, how much do I have to participate in your self-image? I said, you shouldn't discuss this in front of black people. I said, I know niggas in Brooklyn that wear high heels just to feel safe. I asked you, why is it easier for Bruce Jenner to change his gender than it is for Cassius Clay to change his name?
Bruce Jenner come out as a dadgum woman and win Woman of the Year.
Yeah, that's a touchy subject right there.
He wins.
I don't understand that for the life of me. Whew.
You know,
that's a tough one.
And this is the thing. I love the way you open up. You say it was like he was holding a conversation with that entire community.
That's who he was
right?
talking to.
That's exactly who he was talking
to. He wasn't talking to me. He wasn't talking to Susie Q or Billy Bob or whomever. He was talking specifically to the LGBTQ community, telling them, hey, look, guys, this is what I'm saying. Here's what I need you to understand. That's akin to black people trying to explain to white people the struggles that we have gone through, the struggles that we still have today. And they say, get over it. Or you're seeing things, you're making that up.
Right.
He was trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation with them, albeit through comedy, because that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's having a heart-to-heart conversation with them, and instead of them listening to what he's saying, they're too busy and too focused on the comeback, the argument.
Exactly. Because how dare you talk about them?
You can't talk about them in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Same thing that's happening with John Gruden right now. And let it be known that I'm not no John Gruden fan. But what's happening to John Gruden is the exact thing what Dave Chappelle was talking about. You guys are bullies. In 2011, John Gruden made some racist comments about a black guy. He didn't. His job wasn't threatened.
Nope. It happened in 2011.
It was not threatened.
You ain't heard a peep about it.
But some emails have come up of him making some
personal private emails, conversations he was having with people, his friends,
exactly,
if you will, his associates.
With some transphobic, as they call it, conversations, and now he's out of work. Because how dare you talk about them?
Let's be clear. They didn't fire him. But he resigned awful quick. Most people give a 2 weeks notice.
Right.
It's just professional courtesy.
Right.
John Gruden got up out of there. And why is that?
Because you can't talk. How dare you talk about them rainbow people?
But the thing they said though was he was already under investigation.
How long did it take to investigate? This was in 2011.
2011.
How long is his investigation?
That's not what broke the news though.
Exactly.
Even if they had just discovered these by some miracle, this just came up and they just discovered these. That's not what broke the news. We didn't find out about that. We found out about the comments about the LGBTQ community.
Right.
And then,
right.
As a backstory, it was said, oh, but he was already under investigation for this comment. Well, why didn't we know about that one?
Exactly. Once again, we sitting at the back of the bus. Dave Chappelle, I mean, he said a whole lot of stuff that we've been talking about for the longest, man. And I'm glad that it was said because these were things that needed to be heard. These were things that needed to be heard. I mean, we are always overlooked, and we don't even come second unless it's second to last. And in the most parts, it's not even second to last. We just fall dead last when it comes to us.
It's white people, Asians, Hispanics,
dogs.
That's where I was going with it. other races, PETA with the dogs, flies, roaches, maggots,
anything they can find,
leeches,
right?
All those things come, and then it's black people.
It's everything that they can find. Oh, and don't let them think of something else because they'll throw that in there before us as well, right? Everything, man. Rights. Exactly. Everything, man. So with that being said, man, we are living in a world and in a time where, as your Pa Q said in one of her songs, the devils, they not even shy anymore. They're not even shy anymore. And this brings us to our next story, which is a dude. I don't know what his birth name was, but a dude by the name of Jessica Alves, which is a transgender who plans to undergo a womb transplant so that he can have a baby.
Y'all can't see it, but my hand is like real high in the air. You know how when you're in class and you got a question, the teacher just went over some information and you have ooh. I feel like Arnold Horshack in the back of the classroom. Mr. Carter, ooh. Where the wombs coming from?
That's the question. That is the $1 million question. As crazy as this story sounds, let's not even think about the craziness of this story. Let's ask that question: where are the wombs coming from?
Glad you asked. Did you know the wombs? This is a real thing. I had never heard of this. Never even heard of this. I've heard of egg transplants, other kidney transplants.
Right.
I've never heard of a womb transplant. Apparently, they exist, and they cost $250,000.
Where does it come from?
Hold on, cash for surgery to cost that much money. That means you got to do no insurance involved.
Right.
You got to do some significant harvesting.
Right.
These wombs can come from either a live or a deceased female between the ages of, I think it said 30 to 50.
Wow. So all of these years, when I read this was the first thing that came to my mind. All of these years, our black females was just coming up missing and nobody seeming to know where they at. We wasn't getting none of this missing white girl syndrome news on the news about it, right? This is what's been going on. The mere fact that he's talking about having a womb transplant lets you know that organ harvesting is happening.
So let me tell you what I didn't find. And I looked. Maybe I didn't look hard enough. Maybe I didn't know exactly where to look. But, for the sake of argument, my kids call me Google. I went to look and I could not find what the cost is. I'm not 50 yet.
Right.
What if I wanted to donate my womb?
Right.
How much am I going to get for donating my womb? I could not find that information. You can go in there and find how much money you could get from donating
blood.
From donating your eggs.
Uh-huh.
I could donate my eggs, and it's between $5,000 to $50,000 that I could get from donating my eggs.
Okay.
Right? I could not find any information on how much I could get for donating my womb.
How can you take the womb of a live woman anyway, is my question.
Well, women have hysterectomies. They have their uteruses removed. But the thing is, most of the time when you go get your uterus removed voluntarily, it's because there's something going on
with it.
And you need to get it out of you. And there's no way you're going to take a womb that has some issues and donate it or give it or even sell it to anybody else.
So it would only make sense. I'm just throwing this out there. It would only make sense.
Say it.
To take the womb of a dead individual, of somebody that is probably 99.9% missing and ain't never going to be found no more.
Let's back up and make it plain. The person isn't dead yet.
Right.
They get that womb harvested because it has to be, with any kind of transplant, it has to be under certain temperatures, under certain circumstances, certain blood vessels have to be connected, disconnected, whatever the case is. But there is no way there are women out here who, and I Googled it. Can I donate my womb? Yeah. But for how much?
Right.
Ain't nobody donating free wombs.
Right. Exactly. Now, and this is crazy, man, that stuff like this here is even plausible. If you don't believe, the name of the show is It's All Unraveling. And this is one of the reasons why we titled the show It's All Unraveling. If you can't see with things like this here that this joke is falling apart by its seams, man, something's wrong with you.
So the whole concept of womb transplants, as I was doing my research, the whole concept of womb transplants came from the idea of there are women who either were not born with the uterus, or theirs was defected when they were through some other avenue. They can't have babies. Having a womb is what allows them to have babies. So these women underwent some kind of studies, and they learned that there were women who were willing to have wombs transplanted to them, right? But what typically happens after the womb is transplanted is they have it long enough to conceive,
and then they have it
a
removed.
baby, and then they have to get it removed.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily sustainable.
Right.
However, they are making strides in science because there are transgender women who are saying what would make them feel whole is to actually have a womb where they can have a cycle.
Right.
What in?
Right.
I don't want the one I got.
Right.
Why you want it?
Right.
This
is
insane.
A retarded world, and that's one of the things going back to Dave Chappelle that he said that his problem with white people is, he said, just when I thought I had you on the ropes, you changed the rules.
You changed the rules.
You changed the rules.
So, kind of to go back to what you were saying about our missing black women, of course, I did some research on that, and of the 100,000, so as of last year, there were 100,000 missing black women or girls that they were never reported. It was not widely reported. Gabby Petito went missing. How long ago? Over a month ago?
Man.
They're still talking about her. We're talking about her. Keisha Jacobs, you know who that is?
Never heard of her.
Me either. She went missing in 2016. The only reason we know anything about her today is because her mom spoke out and said, how is it that this girl over here goes missing? My daughter was a year younger than her. Went missing in 2016. And still had get this, the police said when she told them, hey, my daughter is missing, the police told her she's probably just ignoring your phone calls.
Wow.
Now, sometime later, they're saying, oh, yeah, we think maybe foul play was involved.
See, and this is the thing that I be talking about, man, that we got these Negroes over here that turn an eye on this and say that it's not a problem over here. You know what I'm saying? Look, I hate to go back to what Dave Chappelle said, but what he said, it needs to resonate on a bunch of Negroes, man. If you ever listen to, and I'm talking about myself now, I'm repeating him, but I'm talking about myself. You ever listen to anything that I've ever said, I don't have a problem with nobody, but I do have a problem with white people. Because white people make sure that everybody else in this world have a problem with us.
Yeah.
Everybody.
When foreigners come over to this country, oh, by the way, we can't use aliens anymore because that's offensive to aliens.
Come on now.
Okay. But when foreigners
Demi Lovato, go look it up.
When they come over to this country, one of the first things that they learn, besides this is, a great country and the freedoms they have over here, they learn two things: where to set up their shops and stores.
That's right.
And they learn how to treat us.
That's right. That's right.
They learn how to treat us.
How can think about it. How can a Vietnamese come over here to a country that they ain't never been before? How could they come over here and automatically, you only know 3 words. You break, you buy. You break, you buy. That's 4 words. That's the only 4 words they know. But they come over here automatically with an attitude towards us. You know what I'm saying?
They don't even have to come over here. I have a friend that went on an Asia tour And she said she would probably never ever visit Asia again because she was treated like crap when she got over there. Her and her friends were treated like crap. There were some beautiful things that they saw. There were some really interesting places that they were able to visit. But in terms of the people over there in general, they kind of looked down on them and looked down their noses at them and didn't want to.
And the only way they felt this way is because of information that was fed to them from the news about what? America. That's the same way it is. That's why, because with this being said, before we transition into the next story, there are so many of us over here that think Africa is a piss poor nation, continent.
And it is not. It is far from it.
They think that England is just such a beautiful, all of England over there is just such a beautiful.
It is not.
You see what? And the reason why these mind states, even here, before I even go to that, even here in America, people who have never visited New York think that all of New York look like New York City.
Right.
And it does not.
Absolutely.
And the reason why is because of the information that we are. Exactly.
Right.
And so America treat us like crap over here, and they present it to the whole world that that's what we are. So when they see us,
they feel like they know how to treat us.
They already know. That's them niggers. You dig what I'm saying? Right. That's them niggers. We got 4 minutes, man. We got 4 minutes to talk about this young man right here. Go ahead.
Quite honestly, I mean, not to minimize or diminish the story behind Jelani Day. One of the first things I do want to mention is I was all up in arms yesterday when I first heard the news about the autopsy report where he supposedly had missing organs. His mother has now come back and said that that's not true. She wanted to get the story straight. She did say what you do need to know though is my son did not put himself in that river.
Right.
He didn't do that. Right. That is not who he is.
Right.
My son was murdered and we need to find that out. So I think what she didn't want to do is take away from the fact that her son went missing and there was never anything done about it. We didn't hear about Jelani Day again until what? Gabby Petito.
That's right.
When they started talking about Gabby Petito, you started hearing other people come out and say, well, what about my child? What about this child? What about that child? At the end of the day, you know who we're still hearing about? Gabby Petito.
I don't even know how to put this in words, man. But you heard me ask the question, is Gabby Petito really missing? Is Gabby Petito really dead?
About to step on some toes.
Because we talking about people who change the rules in the middle of the game. So if you don't think that these people will create news stories to keep buzz going, you said it yourself in the show earlier that negativity sells.
It does.
And that's a prime story to start all kind of men. They know that they running this dadgum story over and over and over, putting salt in the wounds of parents who have black kids that are missing that was never heard about.
Right. And again, before not that they listen, but for those people who love to say, well, for you to be talking about Jelani Day as opposed to Gabby Petito, all lives matter. We're not talking about all lives. We're talking about Jelani Day because he was not talked about until
exactly.
Her. Had this not happened to her, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's why I don't necessarily agree with you that she is not actually dead. It just proves a point though that we would not be having the conversation about him had we not been talking about her.
Exactly.
His story was still gone untold, and he would not have all of a sudden miraculously been found either. Because they had been missing him for multiple days.
Man, this dude here, this is just one of the many. When we was coming up, in our generation, we was coming up, missing kids was on milk cards. They were on milk cards, man. And then, you go to Walmart, you used to have the missing kids on the wall, right?
But you also, they weren't missing the way that they're missing now. It would be one over here, Another one a few years later over here, or the ones that we learned, but we did at least hear about those, with the exception of what happened in Atlanta.
Right.
That was a cluster of kids, and even then when they were trying to bring it up to the police, they didn't want to believe.
They didn't want to believe
it. They believed everything but those mothers who said that their children were missing.
Exactly. This show was predicated on the fact of, and this is why it was titled that we still sitting at the back of the bus. The Negro still sitting at the back of the bus. I don't care how many black millionaires we have in this country, how many black doctors we have in this country. When I'm saying doctors, I'm talking those who have doctorate degrees, not so much doctors of medicine, right? It don't matter. All of that stuff is smoke and mirrors to make the majority of us feel like
they threw us some bones,
and we eating it.
Yeah,
and we are eating it.
We're not even eating meat. We still on gristle.
We are in captivity.
Right.
They brought us here to be slaves,
and they trying to keep it as such. Yep.
They never had the intentions on us being anything other than.
Right.
And Negroes like Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Stephen A. Smiths, Steve Harveys, these are what you call gatekeepers. Mm-hmm. They are gatekeepers.
Don't let the Negroes out. Don't let them out. Don't let them venture too far.
We allowed you in the master's house for a reason. If you out there fraternizing with the field niggas, you need to let us know what the field niggas is talking about. Right. That's what your job is. And before we start giving Netflix a round of applause for not canceling Dave, for sticking up for Dave, let me say this, and we'll close the show. It was financial reasons. Over a course of Dave Chappelle series on Netflix, Dave Chappelle was paid by Netflix over a whopping $100 million. Netflix got to recoup.
Of course.
They got to recoup. There's nowhere in the world. That ain't got nothing to do with them standing up for Dave. No. They say, okay, Dave said, look, if you want me to come back, because Dave left. He left 50 mil on the table.
He's done it before.
He went to Africa, right? So think, if they gave him 100 mil, what you think they going to make off of it? This is what people don't be understanding. If they gave him 100 mil, what you think they gonna make off of it?
Right.
They willing to give him 100 mil. We want you to come back because they want that money because they know that Dave Chappelle does what? Sales. I bet if you Google right now the #1 show on Netflix, I bet you Dave Chappelle gonna be up there.
He might. It might be that Squid Game too, though.
Dave Chappelle gonna be up there, right? With all that being said, this is Truth Be Told Flex Podcast. I want to thank you again for sitting with me. We are missing Ox of Fire. Hopefully he'll be back with us real soon. And for those who are tuning in weekly, I want to say thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and also share this as well. Truth Be Told Flex Podcast at gmail.com. You can hit me there. If you have any questions, you can also leave some show ideas as well at Truth Be Told Flex Podcast at gmail.com. With that being said, I see you the same time next week. You got anything to say in the closing? No?
Good night.
Good night. Good night it is.